Tell me about competition, especially the night of and maybe the days coming up to that onstage competition. I was actually just watching footage of you and Dorian, I think competing at Night of the Champions, maybe in 91. I'm not sure what it was. It was right when the kind of transition happened from you to Dorian. But what's it like when you got the young gun coming up to trying to take your spot? You know your reign is coming to an end, but you're also thinking, no, this is happening when I want it to happen. And then I might reflect on Dorian's mindset because he's competing with a guy that he's looked up to for 6-7 years. You probably inspired him when he was a kid, and now he's got to beat the guy that's the hero in his dreams, and maybe you can use that against him. So tell me, what's that whole mindset process like, even behind the stage and on the stage?
Well, if you kill the mind, you can impact the body. So this ability to try to psych out your opponents is very important if you can make it happen and if you can reach into their heads, because we're dealing with several Olympians here. These guys are the best of the best. They're not passive. They're not kids. They are gladiators, and they're ready to cut head off. So how do you sort of move them from their game? I tell you what I did on this particular time, leading up to that last Olympia, is I would wait until, because there's a period of about 20 minutes before hitting the stage that the head MC or the person extraditing would say, okay, guys, you got 20 minutes to go. You want to start warming up. Okay, what I would do is about when I'm feeling that starting to happen, I would ahead of time have my assistant to unrobe me while all the other guys are sitting around waiting on the call. So ahead of time, I would have them to take my robe off, and I hit a few poses, then they'd throw it back on me. And so it was at that moment when they would see me at the very best I was going to be for that particular day, and trying to throw them off their game or have them to say, wow, man, Lee Haney looks great. Man, I don't stand a chance. That was my mindset, to mess with their heads. And so I had a tendency to do that on purpose. And as I look back and as I've heard later, it worked on several occasions with several of the competitors. Whether it worked with Dorian or not, I'm not sure. But I do feel still, as hard as Dorian tried to say, well, and I've heard him say it in an interview, this guy's my enemy now. I can't look at him in the same light. And that's correct. But I still feel that level of respect and that level of awe was still there, because it was there for me when I stood on the stage beside Frank Zane, Berto Fox, Roy Callender, and Sergio Olivier. I was the youngest cat coming up, and here I am at the 1984 Olympia. You better believe it was in my head that these guys I was on the stage with legends that I had looked up to and mimicked some of their training routines. So I knew that was in Dorian's head too. So I felt, and I knew without a doubt, I had the upper edge of his psyche. I strongly felt that. Did he look fearful on the stage? Of course not. Gladiators don't show fear. They do what they got to do. But I was fully confident that was going to be my last set and my best set. And I knew that Dorian was coming along, so I had to be at my very best. When you're going for your 8th Mr. Olympia win, you have to do something differently to look differently on that last one, because you got those new mass monster coming, and the audience has been watching you for the last 7 years. So what can you show them that you haven't shown them before? And so at that last Mr. Olympia, I was at 254 pounds, which is 4 pounds heavier than the previous Mr. Olympia. My physique was fuller. I used a training system that I would normally drop about 4 weeks from the Mr. Olympia. When I say training system, the system I generally used was called a 3-on-off-1, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday off, then Monday, Wednesday, Friday off. I would generally switch from that system to a straight 6 the last 4 weeks. But what I noted in switching to the straight 6 the last 4 weeks in the previous Mr. Olympias, my body stayed fatigued until a day and a half before the actual show, where the muscles really started to fill out and pop. So I took a chance, and I not so much as taking a chance, I just studied closer my body as I was following through on the 3-on-off-1 all the way to the last 4 weeks. And I said, listen, this is already working very well. My muscles are full. My legs recovered with the on 3-off-1. So let's not fix what's not broken. So I stayed with the on 3-off-1, which allowed me to stay fuller, allowed me to stay bigger. When I hit the stage, it was a done deal. Everything was just as I wanted it to be. I filled out and my carbohydrates hit the cells just as I wanted it to be. So all the science worked out. So that last Olympia was my best. But guess what? It had to be the best because Dorian was there. And that was my last set, best set too. That's it. Let somebody else fight with this youngster. I'm out of here.
How good is it to have someone like a Dorian coming in at that time and then later going on to kind of change the game with that mass monster style? I mean, I guess at the time, it's probably not a pleasant thing, but in retrospect, it gets you to go the extra mile, doesn't it? I mean, we're only as good as our competitors.
You got that right. Dorian he had size that was unparalleled to anybody else that I had competed with previously.
Style.
And Dorian, size, what I say, I was 254, and Dorian, I believe, at the time was probably about 240, 245, I believe, something like that, in his first Olympia. And of course, he got bigger for his Olympias after that. But that was a whole nother era. My era was one, I would say, more of a classic physique. I had a 31-inch waist, so it was more of a sweeping type of, let's say, Arnold, Zane, Robbie Robertson type of physique. Dorian was one more of a hard, grainy, larger style, which is a different type, but it was then becoming a different era. And that era said, okay, this is what bodybuilding should look like. That is what that era craved. And Dorian was the beginning of that era, because after Dorian, you had Ronnie Coleman. After Ronnie Coleman, you had I can't think of his name, with the blonde hair, the other mass monster. But anyway, they followed in succession with mass and more size and so forth. So my physique was what it was, and it was what the judges wanted to see for that era. And Dorian in that era was magical for me. It made me Mr. Olympia 8 years in a row. And when the next era came, it was then Dorian's era, which that's what the judges and that's what bodybuilding wanted to see for that era. So all eras have its champions and have the thing that it loves and wants to see, and its fans who wants to see it.